I don't know if it happened to you ever that things went so wrong that you thought that there must be wrong, there must be something wrong with me, or maybe maybe somebody paid some witch to do a witchcraft to me, right? Maybe you thought that somebody gave money to a sorcerer to do some kind of sorcery. Because this is exactly what happened in the Old Testament, book of Numbers, from chapter 22 to chapter 24. There was a king, the king of Moab, Balak. He paid a sorcerer. And the name of the sorcerer was Balaam. So Balak is the king, Balaam is the magician, the sorcerer. So he paid Balaam, asking him, will you please run a sorcery against Israel? Because they were the enemies, right? And so Balaam accepts. He accepts the job. And so he went up to the mountain and decided to curse the people of Israel. But for 3 times he couldn't do that because God forbid the sorcerer to do that. And he wanted him, instead of cursing, he wanted him to bless the people of Israel. Well, this should help us, well, at least to understand that if you are under the grace of God, then nothing can touch you. If you feel that fear, something did something bad to you, no worries. Just go to confession, stay in the grace of God, take communion, give alms to the poor, and you are untouchable. Why this is connected with the feast of today? Because Balaam is the one who first talks about the star. He's the one that says there will be a star from Jacob that is coming. So instead of cursing, he's prophesizing about the coming of Jesus. And Jesus is the star. Well, we are in Hollywood here, so we have a lot of stars. But our star, is Jesus. So we don't have to look for a star in the sky, because our star is here, is this child who is born. And the Magi, who are them? They're just people who got lost. So we call them kings. But in the gospel we don't say that they are kings. It's also coming from the Old Testament. It's the prophecy of Isaiah here that talks about these kings coming from Sheba and bringing gifts, right? So from there comes the idea of the kings. But not necessarily they were kings. There were people who got lost. They got lost. Just like it can happen if you set out for a long journey and then no GPS and then you don't know where to go. They only had a star. But then, they were coming from east. So they were supposed to go to Bethlehem, but they didn't know. But coming from east, first, you are Jerusalem. So when they saw the big city, they thought, for sure, the Son of God will be born here. But they missed, the logic of God, who didn't choose Jerusalem for the birth of Jesus, but the tiniest of the towns, Bethlehem. Not even in a palace, but in this poor place here. And so what did they do? They stopped looking above at the star, and they started looking down at the things of the earth. And so they entered the city and they looked for Jesus in the city, asking two men, asking to Herod. Herod was probably the last person that you were supposed to ask to. Because yes, Herod, he lied. He said, go ahead, I want to adore the child who is going to become king. But he had no intention of doing that. He had killed already like 10 people from his family members who wanted to be kings instead of him. He also killed several children, and only some of them became kings after him. Yeah, we have Herod that meets Jesus, but is the son of this Herod. This is Herod the Great, one of the most violent kings in the history of the kings. He's the one responsible for the slaughter of the innocents. Well, he also did, he's called great because he did also great things, in a human way of speaking. He built fortresses, he even built the Temple of Jerusalem, not because he cared about prayer, but just because the Temple of Jerusalem became Bank of America. The Temple of Jerusalem was a bank, at that time. There was practically all the gold of the area was in the temple. And also this is one of the reasons why the Romans then destroyed the temple, not because they wanted to destroy a church. They wanted to take the money inside. It's different. So Herod, it seems that Herod is giving them the direction where to go. It is not Herod. Herod is called the priests and the scribes. So those who know the Bible. So when they got lost, the Magi, they get again on track because they receive information from the Bible. And so they know that they have to go to Bethlehem. They have to leave the city. And when they leave the city, so they see the star again. And at that point, when they see the star again, they are filled with such a joy. They are overjoyed. Yes, there is a time that we are overjoyed. And when we have sinned so much, and so then you go to confession. So you open up, you say it all, then you receive forgiveness. You receive the grace of the Lord. Then you go out of confessional and you overjoy. And you feel at peace. And then you receive communion. And you feel on top of the world. And then you go back home. Of course, you're going to start all over again. But, there is that moment, that you overjoy. In fact, the Magi, they did the same thing. They were following the star, and they followed Herod, Then the star again, then Jesus. Then when they went out, from the place where Jesus, Mary, Joseph were, they wanted to go back to Herod again. And the dream told them, don't go there anymore. So you see, the temptation to go back to the old life. To the darkness. Yes, there is darkness. Sometimes now lights. And Jesus is the light. There is this battle in between light and darkness. And after all, the Epiphany, the solemnity of today, is all about light and darkness. There is also a connection with the stars, with what actually happens in the sky. Because Epiphany, it's connected with actually December 21st. You know that December 21st is the solstice of winter. The solstice of winter. Which means the day when, the days, there is day and night. So the days are becoming shorter and shorter, and the nights longer and longer. And so until December 21st, it seems that the light is going to disappear forever. So you see these days getting shorter, and you have the impression, you have the fear that the sun is leaving the earth. So what is the light going? Because here darkness is more and more. So the solstice is the day that the sun stops going away. And from December 21st to January the 6th, in fact, Epiphany, we are celebrating now because it's a Sunday, but usually it was celebrated, or is to be celebrated, in January the 6th. Because January the 6th is the first day that you can see that really the days are becoming longer again. So it's the victory of light on darkness. And yes, we should follow the example of the Magi in order to win that darkness. The darkness that we face every day. There are situations, there are many of us who are undergoing a bad situation right now that have tough tests. There are some days that are really dark. And we should follow the example of the Magi. So those who found their way just looking above. So when you are in the darkness, because your health is not working well, because you lost your job, because you divorced, because there is something, maybe there is somebody that you lost, maybe there is death approaching, maybe there is something that is giving you fear, maybe you fear something, so you see that darkness, right? So in order to overcome this darkness, do like the Magi, look above. Be like also, Mary, the Virgin Mary, when she was under this cross, not with Jesus after resurrection, but with Jesus who was dying. So she's looking at Jesus, but she's also looking above. So she's looking at her son who is dying, and it says that darkness is winning over the light, but then she's also looking at heaven. And she's saying, thy will be done. So she's trusting, the light. She's trusting God, that the will of God will turn everything in salvation. So this is the message of Epiphany today. Win your darkness, the darkness that you experience every day in your life, by only looking above. It's only faith that in the moment of darkness can give us the direction, can give us peace inside, can give us the strength to go ahead even though you don't see.